Well, today's video, folks, is top 5 Newcastle United Champions League moments. So let's get into it. Welcome back, everybody, to Pooley Mag TV, the raw, unedited, unscripted NUFC fan channel where everyone's got an opinion and nobody's opinion's wrong. So today, I want your opinion on Newcastle United's top 5 Champions League moments. I'm going to give you my opinions, why I feel this way, and what made me pick these 5 matches or 5 moments in the Champions League from Newcastle United. So, number 5, the 1-0 win against Juventus. I remember we lost our first 3 games in the group stage that season, and we were the only team ever to lose our first three group games and still go through. I remember I was in Norway with my uncle at the time, and we were listening to it on the radio, and it was Andy Griffin or Aaron Hughes, one of the two. I always got them two mixed up. I think it was Aaron Hughes, but it could have been Andy Griffin. I always get them two mixed up. But it was a 1-0 win against Juventus, the mighty Juventus. Not the Juventus of today. They were a mighty team back then, make no mistake about that. And that set us up to go through that season. And that was just one of the best moments as a Newcastle fan, because I thought we were dead and buried. You know, my uncle was a Sunderland fan, so he was mocking me whilst we were away in Norway at the time. And I just remember jumping up and down. I must have been about 12 or 13 at the time, ecstatic that we'd beaten the mighty old lady. We'd beaten Juventus, you know, and Juventus, like I say, had Buffon, they had Nedved, they had Trezeguet up front. They had a great team, make no mistake about that. Juventus were one of the best teams in Europe when we beat them. So moving on, it's another match from that season, and it's the 2-2 against Inter Milan. Inter Milan, wow. What a game. Should have won that game, actually. Alan Shearer with both goals and the San Siro, which is why we all sing, have you ever seen a Macam in Milan? No, you haven't. You know, we've been to Milan twice now, obviously. The other season we were there too. Wasn't a great game, that, but this game against Inter Milan was a great game. And they had, they had a great team and all, didn't they? They had Recoba, they had Christian Vieri, they had Zanetti, they had Toldo in goal. They just had a cracking team, Inter Milan, and we took it to them. We took it to them, hell for leather, in the San Siro, and we should have won that game, but unfortunately we didn't, and we drew 2-2. And we ended up going out that season. We got beat up bad. That was the season where they did the 2 group stages. Can anybody remember that? They did the 2 group stages that season. We beat Leverkusen twice. We drew against Inter Milan and got thumped off Inter Milan, and we got beat off Barcelona twice. And unfortunately, that brought about the end of our Champions League campaign for that season. But I just remember being proud as punch. I watched that match with me nana. She's no longer with us now, but I remember watching that with me nana. I wasn't a massive football fan, by the way, but I remember watching that match with me nana, and it just brings back really good memories. So, number 3 is also from that season. And it was the Craig Bellamy last minute winner against Feyenoord to send us through to the second group stage. Now, Craig Bellamy, say what you want about Craig Bellamy. You know, he's a little bit of a narc. You know, he's a little bit of a rebel, isn't he? Can be a bit of a nuisance, can do your head in, but he's somebody who you'd want on your team. Craig Bellamy is the type of player who just irritate and narc people. You know what I mean? And he did. He irritated and narc a lot of people who come against Newcastle. I loved him in a Newcastle shirt. I don't care what anybody says. Craig Bellamy was one of the better players we've ever had, in my opinion. When he was on form, there was nobody quicker than Craig Bellamy. Even Kieran Dyer wasn't as quick as Craig Bellamy. You know, pardon me. You know, and I just thought Craig Bellamy was just a great player. And that moment where he hits it off the goalkeeper and it goes in the 90th minute. So like I said earlier, to become the first team ever to lose their first 3 home games and still go through. And I think they might still be the only team ever to do that. And I think we are. But if we're not, we were definitely the first to do that. So that was just a great season. Obviously, 3 of my 5 top Champions League moments come from that season. I think it was the 02-03 season We had a great team. We had Bobby Robson as our manager, Shearer, Dyer, Bellamy, you know, Woodgate, Shea Given in the prime of his life, Gary Speed. We had a cracking team, Lauren Robert, Norberto Solano. What a Newcastle team that was, by the way. They were a joy to watch. And they were a joy to watch in the Champions League. Unfortunately, we've just come up against an absolutely awesome Barcelona side, and we got thumped off a great Inter Milan side. Now to be ashamed of there. So, number two might be controversial for some of the younger fans, but number 2 is the 4-1 against PSG. I went into that game, and as soon as I seen the crowd, I thought we had a good chance. Now, don't get me wrong, Kylian Mbappe is a great footballer, but does he turn up in the big games all the time? I don't think he does he? I know he scored an hat-trick in the World Cup final, he scored an hat-trick the other week against Barcelona, but I've watched him numerous times for Real Madrid and PSG, and I just don't think sometimes he's interested. When he's interested, he's deadly and he's dangerous. And I think we caught him at the right time, to be fair. I don't think he was quite happy at PSG. But there ain't no mistake, we absolutely walloped PSG that match. Well, I was hyped up for it, but if I'm honest, I didn't expect us to win the game. I thought we'd give it a good go. I thought we might nick a draw. I honestly, when I seen the crowd, I was a little bit more at ease. I thought we'd have a better chance. But I didn't think we'd batter them 4-1. And Fabian Schär, wow. You know what a goal that was, wasn't it? Almiron, I think Longstaff scored, Dan Burn, bullet nut. You know, so that was just a great game all round, and we tore them a new one, didn't we? We were fantastic that match. So that's number 2. Like I say, the younger fans or people with a little bit of recency bias might say, well, how can you pick anything other than that? Well, I'm going to tell you why I'm going to pick something over that, and that is my number 1 pick for Newcastle's greatest Champions League moment of all time, and that is the Faustino Asprilla show against Barcelona. We'd ended 3-2, but for 80 odd minutes we were absolutely coasting that match. And Tino Asprilla, by far his greatest game in a black and white shirt, hat-trick against Barcelona, who had Rivaldo and everything. But the man of the match for me, controversial again, would be Keith Gillespie. He absolutely destroyed their left back. He absolutely destroyed their left back. Absolutely hammered them all match, and people forget just how good Keith Gillespie was. The only reason we sold Andy Cole was because Kevin Keegan knew he had Keith Gillespie coming the other way. Keith Gillespie was a great, great player. And that was a great match. And I remember I was 8-year-old, I think, at the time. I know it was the 98-99 season or the 97, I think it was the 98-99 season. I could be wrong, don't quote me on it. It's either 97-98 or 98-99. I've slept since then. But I know I was about 7 or 8 years old, and Faustino Asprilla lit my life up at night. It was a great, great game of football and a great win. Yes, they clawed 2 goals back later on in the match, but it didn't take the shine off it for me. It was great. So there we go. There's my top 5 Newcastle Champions League moments of all time. So hit like, hit subscribe, comment down below your top 5 moments, and share the channel. And always keep it black and white and keep it Pooley Mag TV over and out.